Hey everybody, welcome back to the 24-hour Observatory. Today, we're going to take a trip of imagination. Got some more writing for you because did an observing session with this scope right here, the 1957 Celestar. Did a video on this a couple episodes ago. Awesome, cool little scope right there. So, pull up a cup of tea, sit back, relax. We're going to get our cool hipster 8mm film effect going on. And let us begin. The 24-hour Observatory, Night 3, Animals of the Deep. Welcome back to the 24-hour Observatory. I hope you brought your coat. Baby, it's cold outside. A February storm finally relented earlier today. The sun smiled briefly down on us astronomers, and we were glad to get any starlight we could find. The wind hasn't left though, and has iced out the thermometer. The grass is crunchy too. Frozen again with the realization that spring is still a ways off. Our spaceship this evening is a hipster-approved 1957 Celestar. Technically, it's a 4-inch f7 fork-mounted Newtonian reflector, but it reminds me more of a 57 Chevy with its mid-century modern stylings, green fleck paint, and clean lines. The Chuck Berry song Johnny Be Good, ensconced on a gold record aboard Voyager 2 as an example of American pop music, would be a fitting soundtrack for this telescope. Speaking of Voyager, let's go wandering among the stars ourselves. The crescent moon has returned to the evening sky and spills a faint light towards Taurus the Bull. Earth's shine is beautiful this evening. The reflection of light from our planet gently turning the dark part of the moon a subtle gray. If you've never witnessed this, imagine the crescent moon as a pair of cupped hands under a stream of lukewarm water, the unlit moon. It's slightly less chilly than the air, but still fairly cold. This is how the dark side looks against the black of deep space. There's something there, a faint ghost of a sphere, cradled by a cantaloupe slice of the moon. On the topic of faucets, the stars twinkle brightly tonight, cheerfully sputtering like the tap just turned on. Aldebaran, the eye of Taurus, glares down, wondering why nearby Mars is doing its best to imitate his ruddy glow. Stomping his hoof on the ground, right? The kite-shaped Pleiades sparkle nearby, a gaggle of pretty girls aloof and unconcerned about the brewing Mars-Aldebaran rivalry. Oh, are the boys up to something? Well, that reminds me. I heard that so-and-so. The cold metal of the 1957 scope bites, but the views through the eyepiece are crystalline. We take aim just below the blazing furnace of Sirius, the dog star, for our first observation. Open cluster, Messier 41. Charles Messier was an avid comet hunter back in the day, and to be good at this, one has to learn the sky down to its tiniest detail. A new fuzzy patch might signify a comet, but there's a lot of star clusters, galaxies, nebulae, etc., which are non-cometary fuzz. Old Charlie got tired of this, and so he made a list of false positives. Today, it's one of the finest guides for us Earthlings to appreciate the observable universe. So it's off to M41, 3 dozen of the brightest stars like embers strewn across the blackness, set against a haze of fainter partygoers. If you had a pouch of marbles and dumped them on the table to count them, you might be reminded of M41. It's rather unpoetically called an open cluster, a loose gathering of young stars hanging out in a block of space 25 light years across. As we observe this 100-million-year-old marvel, the wind wanders through the woods up to the front porch and rattles the chimes. It's been doing that for a lot longer than this star cluster has existed. Were we to go back to the age of the dinosaurs, this sparkling gathering wouldn't exist. At a distance of 2,100 light years, the light collected by the telescope tonight set out through space a bit before the time Jesus showed up. Perhaps it's the cold, but notice how the main part of the star cluster forms a shape vaguely like a scorpion, with those red stars, stinger-raised claws ready to pounce on a lone sapphire star. The wind rattles the chimes again, and it's time to move on. Eastward we fly, much deeper into space, 3,600 light years away. And remember, that's 3,600 times 5.88 trillion miles. Shaking the space dust off our coats, we knock at the door of M93. Another open cluster glimmering low in the south. More delicate looking than M41, the stars of 93 trace a bit of a moth shape, fluttering dainty wings in a star field at dusk. The left wing is brighter and seems to be waving at us across infinity. That greeting started out 1,000 years before ancient Rome existed. Man, this eyepiece is cold. Funny how our senses are like tethers astronauts use to keep from floating away from their home ships. It's time for one more stop before we return. Did you notice something? There, in an empty part of the sky, only a few dim stars sputter, but wait, something is moving in the branches of the trees, low on the horizon. Ah, it's Leo the lion, crouching and ready to spring out of the forest. Branches like grasslands against the sky. His form must be given some creative license, as he appears at first a giant sickle or backwards question mark. Fortunately, we're of an imaginative bent, so we honor our ancestors' figuring of a lion and turn towards a golden star in his mane. I'm probably going to say this name wrong, so pardon me here. Say hello to Algieba, or Gamma Leonis, if you want to be all frat boy about it. His twinkle has been traveling for 130 years. About the time Carnegie Hall first opened, with Tchaikovsky as a guest conductor. Just like it's good to listen closely instead of assuming, we're rewarded this evening with a more thorough inspection of Algieba. As the freezing metal of the eyepiece inspires a slight ache in our eye socket, the star neatly splits into two. A double star, a twin dandelion, two flowers of the savannah. Lion yellow, greeting us with a warm smile. Twinning! These two stars dance around each other, about a solar system's distance apart. They were even recently discovered to have an exoplanet joining in this dance party, although that's way beyond the grasp of our 57 spaceship. Also unseen, distant galaxies swimming in the deep along the line of sight of our dandelion stars. We'll have to return with a big scope to visit those galaxies later. Time to head back to Earth and warm up by the fire. We're back slowly away from Leo the lion. Wave goodnight to the dog star twinkling in the south and trundle indoors. What a trip! Outside, the timeless wind rattles the chimes again. Ah, there's no place like home. Clear skies. We'll see you next time.